Something incredibly strange has happened, people. People are excited for Call of Duty again. I can't really remember the last time there was genuine, true hype for Call of Duty. If you go back to last year, people were interested in Black Ops 4, but there was so much controversy around the Black Ops Pass. If you go back to Call of Duty World War II, I think people didn't have too much against it, but there wasn't a great deal of excitement. People just saw it as a back to basics thing. Then if you go back even further, you go to Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. And not only were people very tired of the futuristic setting by this point, but what was even more annoying was that they forcibly packaged Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered with it, so that you had to get Infinite Warfare if you wanted the remastered version of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And the pattern we see is that although there is excitement around Call of Duty often, there is also a lot of negativity. And although there is some negativity around these new Call of Duty Modern Warfare, I have to say that there is far more positive excitement this time. And I, for one, am largely with people on that. There's nothing I've seen so far that concerns me. I think the choice to move to a new engine was very wise. I think it looks a lot more like Battlefield now, which is a very strong compliment given that Battlefield is one of the best looking first person shooters in the industry. And I also like the fact they're moving to projectile based bullet damage rather than hit scan for the most part, because hit scan's fine and all, but it doesn't really feel like you're firing a gun. It feels like you're participating in laser tag. But something I've always preferred about the Battlefield series is that they use proper bullet physics, and I feel it's so much more satisfying to actually shoot your weapon using that. And the fact that Call of Duty Modern Warfare will now incorporate that, for me, is a massive plus. They're also, again, making a comparison to Battlefield here, moving towards much bigger battles, so there will now be 50 versus 50 players on much larger maps. I'm glad that's an option and I will try it, but I think there might be some capacity there to get a little bit chaotic. But as my excitement grows, as I look forward to this edgy campaign, one thing that is at the back of my mind that I cannot get rid of is what happened to Black Ops 4. So Black Ops 4, when it came out, I really enjoyed. I thought it captured a lot of what made the old Black Ops games great. It's a shame that they removed the campaign, but to be honest, the value was still there. You had dedicated multiplayer, you had zombies, you had Blackout. And the multiplayer itself, which is where I chose to focus most of my time, was solid in my opinion. I thought the higher time to kill made it feel a bit different. I thought the specialists added a little bit of dynamism to the overall combat. But then over time, they started to bring in microtransaction loot boxes, which at first were just annoying and a bit of a shame that they were there. Although at the same time, I suppose, inevitable given past entries in Call of Duty. But then they started adding these guns that were blatantly more powerful than the ones you started out with, and it became pay to win. And I just decided to stop playing it because it felt like almost wrong to participate in a game that would choose to be so aggressively monetized, I suppose is just the best way to say it. And I've heard a lot of people say this. Black Ops 4 now feels like a mobile game that you still have to pay full price for, because they're just constantly throwing offers and deals in your face. They're forcing you to get COD points so that you can guarantee you can get these weapons that give you an advantage in multiplayer. And after revisiting, I really think they do. Things like the Stingray S6 with the operator mod in particular, that is shameful that is still in the game. I really think it should have been nerfed harder than it was, or just entirely removed. But the point I'm trying to make, rather than going too deeply into specifics here, is that Black Ops 4 came out and it was good, but then they've ruined it. And I'm really afraid, I have to say, that Modern Warfare is going to end up in the same way. It might come out and it might be the best Call of Duty there's ever been. It might be better than Modern Warfare 2. It might fire on all cylinders, have fantastic multiplayer, an amazing campaign. But then 6 months after launch, maybe less, Activision come in and they say, well, look at all these people playing our game, but, well, they spent their money now. We've promised them free content, and you really can't put free in enough quotation marks. So what do we do now? Now we throw the supply drops at them, and we're going to make the rarity incredibly higher on these weapons that are designed to be more powerful than the ones you start out with, compelling people to then have to go and get these supply drops so that they then are on an equal playing field. And I really can't shake that feeling, because every time I look at some footage from Modern Warfare and I say, that looks amazing, I am really excited for that, it just, in the back of my head, it's like, look at Black Ops 4, look what they did to Black Ops 4. In less than a year, they made that game into a joke. And you really can't ignore the past when it comes to this kind of thing, because, okay, Infinity Ward are the ones developing it, but we know that Activision are the ones that make the decisions around the microtransactions. I'm sure the people who actually develop these games want them to be received as well as possible, and that would mean doing a straightforward method of transaction with the consumer. I mean, look, maybe they could salvage it. I wouldn't mind it if the loot boxes were there, but they were purely cosmetic, even if it's just pointless stuff, because then it's harmless. Or if they had weapons in the game, but they made absolute certain they weren't more powerful than the startup guns, to the point where when they introduce them, they intentionally make them too weak and then slowly push them up to make them more competitive, just to be absolutely certain that they aren't pressuring players into participating in this really nefarious system. So that's my first kind of background worry about Call of Duty Modern Warfare, despite the fact I'm really excited for what the game looks like. But then another thing, and this is where I'm going to start showing some Battlefield footage here, just to really drive the point home. As I've already mentioned, there's definitely some features being taken over from the Battlefield series here. And as someone who also likes Battlefield quite a lot, I'm glad to see this. I think there are things they should have taken from Battlefield a lot longer ago. It doesn't look like they've taken the destruction system yet. I suppose that's quite a difficult thing to incorporate into Call of Duty, and one might argue that maybe shouldn't be there, because Call of Duty maps are designed in a very deliberate and static way, and the destruction system in Battlefield, maybe it's possible to put it in, but would it be right to? But I started playing Battlefield 5, a game that I actually really enjoy. I've enjoyed it since launch. I know a lot of people have problems with it, but I think it's a really solid title. And I kind of started thinking, a lot of the things I'm looking forward to in Call of Duty Modern Warfare are already in Battlefield, and so the excitement starts to die down a bit. I'm like, well, if I want to play big battles, maybe not quite as big as 50v50, but if I want to do big battles, well, I can just play here in Battlefield now. If I want really good visuals, well, I've got them here in Battlefield 5. In fact, I actually do believe that Battlefield 5 looks better than Modern Warfare does from what I've seen from the trailers. And also the more authentic guns and the really fantastic sound design, again, it's already in Battlefield. So I suppose really it means that a lot of the features I am most looking forward to in Call of Duty Modern Warfare are already in a game I am playing at the moment, which does admittedly sap some of the energy out of my excitement. But what I then counter that with is the fact that I do genuinely want to go back to a modern setting. It's funny really that we actually don't have a lot of modern shooters anymore. A lot of them are futuristic or in alternate universes. And although this will be a fictional story in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, it's going to try and be, from the sounds of it, as authentic as they can make it, something that's ripped from the headlines. So the setting is enough to make me come off of Battlefield 5 and into this. I mean, I like World War II as much as the next guy, but I think I've had my fill of it for now. We had Call of Duty World War II, we had Battlefield 5, we had Battlefield 1, which was in World War 1, which, okay, let's be fair, they do feel like similar games as a result of that time period. So I really am quite looking forward to going back to the modern era. But in terms of those overall mechanics, I suppose I feel like a lot of the new additions, like they even talked about doors being open and closable, but you already got them in Battlefield. Although actually, to be fair on that, it looks like there's more you can do with doors in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, things like doing proper breach maneuvers and things. Though that being said, I want to wrap it up by saying that on the whole, I do like the fact that they are incorporating Battlefield features into Call of Duty, and I think a lot of Battlefield fans, particularly ones who didn't really care for Battlefield 5, will be pulled over into Call of Duty Modern Warfare because they're seeing it now as something that maybe offers something they've been missing out on. And then I wanted to talk about one thing at the end. A lot of people have been concerned about the idea of crossplay in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but most specifically, the ability to play with PC players if you're on console. And I think the main reason for this is people think that PC players have a massive advantage over them and they don't want to feel like they're at a disadvantage. But I will say this, and I made a point of doing this in my Battlefield 5 footage that I'm showing you here. So I'm playing Battlefield 5, I'm playing it on PC, but much to probably the disgust of some hardcore gamers, I'm actually playing it using a controller. I'm using an Xbox One controller, which I really like the feel of. The reason I do it is not because it gives me an advantage in terms of gameplay, I do it because it's comfortable. And the thing is, because there's a little bit of aim assist in Battlefield 5 for controllers, it doesn't put me at a massive disadvantage. And although you're not going to see me going on some massive kill streak here to really show off how controllers are better, I think you should be able to agree that it's not putting me at some clear disadvantage. I'm able to aim perfectly fine, I have a lot of precision in my movements, and I can react quickly to other players. So as long as they make sure that aim assist doesn't somehow go away on controllers when going up against mouse and keyboard, I would not worry. I put that fear to rest. I think it will work out fine. Every time I've played a PC game which has controller support and the controller support has aim assist, I've never felt at a disadvantage. The same thing with Titanfall, which did that as well. It's perfectly fine. In fact, in some ways, you have some small advantages because of the aim assist against PC players with mouse and keyboard. So if that's something you're worried about, if you're concerned that you're going to be going up against players that have an input advantage against you, trust me, it's not so bad. I've been playing games on PC competitively with controller for a long time. It's fine. So these are just some of my thoughts in the relation between Battlefield and Call of Duty now. As always, people, thanks very much for watching and see you next time.